Hey everyone, this is Blake here with Outcast Gaming. We are bringing you episode 3 of the Outcast Haven podcast. Tonight we're going to be talking some DBS, Dragon Ball Super. I am joined by Michael Berg, aka Bergie,
Hello.
Robert Wang, aka Illiterate,
Xeno's the best. Change my mind.
and my boy Nichols.
Xeno is so good that it broke Blake.
No, that's fine. We'll go. I'll do my
It broke me.
introduction.
Oh.
It's all good. This is Dane, aka Nichols.
Am I back yet?
Yeah, you're back.
You are.
We
You're
keep
back.
rolling.
Okay.
We'll just include that.
It's killing me. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about a bunch of things. We're going to talk about some card reveals. We're going to talk about all the things that we've got changing with the anniversary box. But first, we're going to talk general meta. So, beginning of the show, what is the meta right now? We've got online tournaments. We've got some in-person tournaments. We've got a lot of things going on. What's the general meta? Dane, start us off.
Well, I think from my experience so far, Dredge Coup or whatever we end up as a community deciding to call that thing, that seemed to be a pretty big chunk of the things I played into for that Gen Con tournament. And it's just a solid deck. And as far as hand control goes, it's always painful to play into. I think it's hard to ignore that that's going to be a decent chunk of the meta.
Yeah, I think there's always some colors have more decks as a part of the meta. Green, that seems to be the primary. I think in blue, I know Robert had some experience at Gen Con with a blue deck that kind of took his lunch money.
Yeah, so at Gen Con, I played against the Zamasu deck, and blue's super strong right now, in my opinion, just given all of the ways that it can kind of control the board with God Sealing technique. You know, UI Goku's obviously readily available now. They still have hit. Blake, you love to play Mafuba, just feels bad. But with their stalling techniques and ability to control the board, it's really hard to get them down before they're able to ramp up enough energy and play Android 17, Turning the Tide, which is now a verb because I got Turning the Tided on stream, I believe, where they just shuffled all my lunch money back into my deck, and I felt really, really bad. It's been a week, and I'm still suffering PTSD from it. So I think Zamasu's in a really, really good place. Also, you know, if you can play kind of the Dirtle version, or you can play, the aggro version, Blake, that you've been running just with the dual attack, double strike with Monaka. Yeah. And Obuni remains a great card, and just the number of swings that you can do. It's versatile. It controls the board, and you ramp, so it's hard not to like blue right now.
Yeah, I think blue is strong because not only do you have so many answers to things, obviously it's a negate heavy color. It has a lot of options in that sense, but obviously you're going to run Senzubin, and if you run Senzubin and you run Zeno, there's just so much energy efficiency that you can get a lot done on your turn, and as long as you leave that energy standing and swing, you're going to go into the opponent's turn with a couple energy. And I mean, that in a meta where people want to attack with a lot of things or people want to attack with one big scary thing, just having access to a negate at all times seems like something blue is just capable of doing. Even with Vegito, it's such an energy efficient thing. It's such an ability to blocker things and negate things. Looking at red, I think red is kind of the color that has a lot of rogue decks, but then the rogue deck that seemed to rise to the top with Gen Con was Bulma. Nick, one of our teammates, has been running Bulma, and it can definitely be infuriating to have to run into 62 blockers every round because everything in that deck is a blocker, it feels like. And then you go to yellow, and you're pretty much on, I'd say, Gotenks and Sen Shenron. Those are probably the primary yellow decks that you see a lot of.
Yeah.
Gotenks is an interesting deck because some people run the Gotenks engine and other people choose to go more of the Bardock route. Just go with 4 Bardocks and you can't go wrong. And then in the multicolor world, obviously there are a lot of decks. The one that's probably most powerful is Bergie's favorite, which is Invoker. Bergie had some success with it. That's the big change, I think, to the meta is you bring the Agents of Destruction into the meta, and that takes multicolor to another world because you could go the route that Dane's going and go with the old rainbow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm forcing Vegeta a little bit, the OG Agent of Destruction, just because I really love the Strength of Legends play. It's so satisfying to get off does take a little bit of like setup and like knowing when to and when not to go for it, because there's no protection innately when you're playing it. So it can be a little bit difficult to like gauge, you know, you're running it into a Zeno with 5 markers on it and they haven't dropped a single God Ceiling yet. And you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep pinging with my 15Ks or, you know, swinging those into Zeno to try to control the marker state a little bit. But yeah, it's just fun having that option. And I don't think a single time have I played the Vegeta for his on play effect. But I mean, it's always 20K, you know, it's a body. Play him for free with Bibidi out. So yeah, it's fun. I don't think that I've read a couple posts about it being kind of catastrophized a little bit. Is like, this is the next thing that needs to get hit. And I think we've talked about it a couple times now, just in our group chats, that it's a very fair deck. Like, I haven't seen anything that's like outlandish. It's not Vegeks that's dropping 6 bodies turn 1 like on average or whatever those numbers were. I didn't personally play Vegeks, so I don't know. But whatever that was, it's nothing like that. It's a toolboxy deck we've talked about. Like, it's just fun. It's fun to play.
Yeah, I think AOD is a fun deck to play. I think it's fair. I think honestly, it can be strong, but I think it does. They balanced it really well with the lack of draw on the Awakened side, because you get the free plays, you get so much draw on the Unawakened side. Is there any other deck that you think got a significant boost or got adjusted or moved around in the power of the meta with the anniversary box drop?
I'm not sure if it's boosted, but I think it's definitely a different take. I love playing Kid Coup. You know, it's fairly straightforward for someone who's not very smart like myself. But I do love the one drop kind of support for it. I was a big fan of Universe 4 Assemble in the draft box. And I think that, you know, the Bonds of Battle is even better than Universe 4 Assemble, because not only do you get the Bonds of Battle out, which again synergizes with the Android 8 Bonds of Friendship, where because it's a Son Goku childhood, you can pop that. If you have the Bonds of Friendship, you can pop something else because it's a Son Goku childhood. But you can actually dig through your deck for your skill list, and then you can also combo them when they're in rest mode. And then hypothetically, for one, you could pull them out after you comboed them with Universe 4 Assemble. So there's a lot of different kind of plays that you can do to spam the board with kind of red one drop 10Ks. Also, the Unison gives all of them +5. If you are on turn 3, you can Fearless Pan. Suddenly you got a whole board full of 20K double strikers, you know, ready to wreck some face. I will say it's just a little too slow for AOD right now. Once they get out the Vegeta Unison and board wipe, that feels real bad. A lot of tears have been shed in that matchup, but I'm still working on it. So I don't know if it got a power boost, but it's definitely a lot of fun just having new toys with it.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, though, too, Robert, like running AOD into your aggro cell deck was just misery every match. Like, you just get so many bodies so fast with that deck that it was... Because we said we were going to play one game. Like, I just wanted to see how it ran, like how it fared against your aggro cell. And it was like 3 games later, I was like, okay, I'm going to bed. Like, I was 5K away 2 games in a row from like surviving into my turn. I was like, oh my god. But yeah,
I think a lot of that is that aggro cell deck spams a lot of 4 cost and up bodies, which is real painful for a deck that has the main counter being 3 or less.
Yeah, that's true. And then that one time I got excited because I was like, wipe that board. I'm counterplaying Belmod, and I was like, oh, damn it, Belmod's a 4 cost. That was so sad.
Yeah, we did have to rewind taking victory from certain death, but in aggro cell, I don't know what you're talking about, Dane. Way to bring up some secret spice in our anniversary box talk.
We're talking anniversary box. We're not talking about the deck profile that's going to come out later of Robert's mega aggro cell, where he just makes us cry.
Okay, I apologize.
Dropping hints out here. Let's see.
I'm just hinting. I'm hinting at the future. What's to come.
Yeah. Did well against Invoker too.
Yeah, it did. What was the record for that?
Yeah.
Not gonna say.
So, is there anything else that you guys think came out of the anniversary box that buffed a deck maybe up to playable level? Or I think rogue status is probably what it did mostly for a lot of decks. It turned some decks that had fallen out of favor because they needed a little boost and turned them maybe into more rogue viable.
It definitely presented a lot of rogue options. I think that's one of the things it did really well. Like right now I'm running that Gotenks that's like ape driven a little bit, and it's really fun. Like, it definitely catches people off guard so far from what I've been playing. So, and I think it did that for a lot of different decks, which just gave extra little options.
Yeah, we have a local guy, who was running Frieza Prison, right? And then having kind of the Frost Unison to bring that back into play, and a couple other cards. But I think, I don't know if anything, there's not any new meta decks other than AOD, but I would say, like, the 3-cost Jiren Unison's really good in, like, Pilaf, for example, and things like that. So I think there were a lot of cards to help a lot of different decks, but if you're thinking like one core build, it was definitely Agents of Destruction, I think.
Personally, I think Android 21, the one with the clone tokens, I think they got a huge boost in this new set. Having the new Super 17 can help a lot. It can make a 3-life check if they don't have a counterplay, and it can blow up their board and spam with a bunch of 25k bodies. The deck lost its main boss monster when it got banned because they were pushing towards mono, I know. But having things like Restoration help ramp you better, and Super 17 to be your closer, honestly makes the deck, I think, personally, a lot better competitively, and I think it actually could top an event if played very well. Also, having access to new UI Gokus more readily available because of the reprint packs, I think that helped the deck a lot as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing for yellow. And
Yeah, I know.
Apes now
Yep.
readily available. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, everyone can run Bardock Apes now.
Can we talk about kind of what you guys think of with the reprints, right? It seems that, having topos accessible, great. Now most of us have 2 play sets, getting a play set of Bardock Apes, which again, Dane says is great. You want to run it in. I may or may not run it in my aggro cell deck. You tell me. But, I think the thing that we hear about online is, the event packs and the draw apes still being relatively hard to acquire. What are your thoughts on that? I thought the anniversary box reprints were great. I think reprinting the Goku ape is great as well. I think that the draw ape will probably, more of them will come into the market as time goes on. I think right now it's just really hard to get hands on kind of the event packs and, the TP packs. And those are my thoughts, but if anybody has any different thoughts.
No, I think that the way that they handled, sorry, Bergie, just one quick point. So I think that the way that they handled the reprints was really smart. Actually, I know a lot of people are complaining about not getting enough, but I don't know what they were expecting initially. It's like Bandai's not going to crash the secondary market by just giving everybody the cards, but the way that they handled like the rarity of them, foils versus non-foils. I mean, you buy 2 to 3 boxes, you're going to get the majority of a playset, if not the full playset, especially if you buy like the full case, all 4 boxes. I think I got playsets of the majority of stuff, including like the random foil so it's 3 non-foils and a foil to make your playset. I feel like that was pretty consistent for the cards that were reprinted. So I think that having that as an option, just to give it to more people, let more people play it in their decks, that's fine. The people that want the max rarity, that want to trade for the foils or buy the foils, they've got that option too. But giving it to kitchen table gamers that were like, oh, I've never been able to play with Bardock Apes because they're really expensive from, whatever, they have that option now, and that's smart.
Should draw apes have been in the anniversary box?
I'd argue no. I think that a lot of people need to remember that half the packs people are going to get are coming in like a week. Because Gen Con and all those online tournaments still haven't shipped out their prizing. I know a lot of people are freaking out about it on that battle server going on, about when they're getting their Gen Con packs. But I think people just need to wait a little bit and see what they open to gauge whether or not we need another reprint of the drive.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Bergie. I think that price has lagged behind the rest of them. Bardocks are very fair price now. Topos are very fair price now. UI Goku very fair price now. And it's all because the market has actually seen stuff come in. And that will happen with the draw ape. It will. I don't know that it gets flooded near as much, because I think more people want to keep the draw ape, and I think the printing quantity is probably still a little lower. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Even if it's $100 card that goes down to 60 and makes it reasonable, I think that's positive for the secondary market, but it's not going to crush it. And I think the max rarity thing that Dane said, I actually like that point a lot. I think the fact that you can get just a playset of non-foils is always a really good way to do it. Get it into people's hands. And then if people want a max rarity to their deck, let them spend a little extra money and time and energy to get them. and that's totally fine. But I think the anniversary box was handled really well, and I think it was handled really well in terms of getting cards into people's hand. I think that affects the meta a little bit because maybe people are able to make better decks when they get those things like Bardock Apes and UI Gokus in. And then you have something like Agents of Destruction, you get some buffs. I think as a result of the anniversary box giving access to a lot of cards that weren't as accessible, I think the meta shifts to a healthier place where maybe you have more competitive options. People who couldn't afford Bardocks before get them, and their decks don't become championship contenders overnight, but they have access to some better cards, which makes those decks better. And I think that that's always a healthy thing for the game to have more competitive players. It pushes the competitive scene to work harder to get those decks. And as a result, the current meta, you get a better sense of the current meta because you don't have players playing with lesser decks. You have everyone playing with good decks, which gets you a better sense of what the meta is. So we've talked about the meta, we've talked about those things. Now, what card from the current meta is going to get banned or restricted?
Can I start?
Yeah, hit it, Bergie.
Do it.
Bobby. That card should have a cap. You shouldn't be able to just play, I'll play the one card and have a 50k combo. That card is going to go. At least
It's funny that you say that, Bergie, because you're the guy who loves to count. Like when I play anybody else, especially like Blake and Dane, they'll be like, "Oh, well, do you want me to count?" And I'd be like, "Nah, you are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 54, 55, 56. Yeah, 56 plus 3, 9. I'm at like 147, and I'm just like,
yeah,
I already cleaned up all my right? Like I'm done here. Like, guess what card I'm gonna say?
Let me guess. Cat Blow?
No, I was gonna say Bibidi, but I mean, if you want me to say Cat Blow,
no, don't
being
say Cat
able
Blow.
to
That card does not need to get banned.
Cat Blow feels bad because I mean, hypothetically, I may be able to combo out of a Bibidi or Bibidi or whatever the hell that is, but Cat Blow, like, you literally can't do anything. And if you Rival Seeker, Energy Explosion, you can Cat Blow me from like 5 or 6. That's super feel bad, man.
Of course, though, the interaction is the counterplay of both Rival Seeker and Energy Explosion.
Yeah, and it's just which is totally fair, which is totally reasonable. I think the thing with the super combo that goes infinite is honestly less that the super combo goes infinite, but that it's often paired with Furthering Destruction Champa. The fact that I am effectively in a place against a mono black deck where I can't go to 2 is probably the most feel bad part about it. So now I have I'm stuck at 3 because if I can't negate every attack after I take from 3 down to 2, I'm basically just screwed, completely and utterly screwed.
Did anybody else write anything else on the survey?
No, I think those are probably the 2 cards that I would guess most people were talking about. I don't know that there's much else. Is there anything else you guys can think of that's really problematic or that you sit down against and you just think this card is a problem? Because I honestly, what's that?
I said Rubrian, the one where you pay 2 and make your hand go bye-bye.
No.
I mean, but that costs 2. It's green only. It's pretty restricted. It's not,
but the deck is dumb.
I don't have a problem with Rubrian.
It also can struggle.
Yeah. I think
I have less of a problem now that Piccolo's gone.
Yeah, that's fair.
What I would he's not gone, he's just
just nerfed into the ground.
Yeah, he's kind of
he lost all of his limbs. He just hasn't regenerated them yet.
That's right. Free Piccolo.
I mean, he is getting a unison.
And I will say, going back to Cat Blow, I don't think it needs to be nerfed. I think it is a feel bad card, but I think that if you took away Cat Blow from Invoker, it would kill Invoker. Honestly, I think Invoker just wouldn't be nearly as viable as it is currently without Cat Blow. So I don't feel like it should, but I will say that it feels bad.
And I think,
and that's the same with Punishing Passion, right? I don't think it should be banned. But to Bergie's point, yes, it can feel bad.
Yeah. I think that honestly they need to print things where it's like counter extra. And they could like make it so that you can't counter counters and reserve that to only counter counters. So like if I were to play Cablo, you could like pay 3 and then play your counter. We'll call it negate because magic. And it'll just stop the effect. You pay 1 for it, and that adds a little bit more interaction towards another barrier with them. Like you could counter Senzu Bean. And then
Yeah,
boom,
I'm not
Boo
super in love
lose a
with
lot.
that.
I
Yeah.
like errata in cat blow once per turn. That'd be
I
nice.
I
don't.
agree.
I mean, I think
If
there's a couple
yeah.
different ways that we've actually talked about handling this, right? And we've said like the errata, which is once per turn, or limiting it. I mean, I feel like limiting it to one per deck, kind of giving it the old
Cold
Bloodlust.
yeah treatment, just because erratating it, Bandit doesn't like doing it, and I kind of like that they don't like doing it because I don't want to have to explain to new players like, oh, this card actually says this. Like that seems kind of like a lame solution to a lot of problems. And I think that
Yeah.
actually, for the sake of Invoker, that limiting it would probably be the better case, anyways. Just because one, you're still going to see it most likely in Invoker at some point. You're going to be able to cycle. I mean, you go through your deck so much and you draw so much early game, especially, that seeing it's not crazy. And that way you can still get a couple cap blows off. You can play the Rival Seeker, pull it back, play it, or play the Rival Seeker, play cap blow, go over the top, pull the cap blow back after warping it, do it again. I mean, you're getting your 3. You can burn for 3. I mean, that's on par with what other
Yeah.
decks are doing. Like you got Yamcha that's burning for 3 pretty regularly. You've got, I think that's totally viable.
Well, they printed that new big. I mean, it's 5 cost, but it would be the same kind of turn play where they printed that Goku ape with deflect that deals a damage. So if you just limited it to 1, you could do it for 2. You have the ability in Invoker to pull it back and do it again at some point, versus in other decks where you have things like the 4 cost Nappa, or even the Goku ape, that new 5-drop from set 9, where you could just pay 5, cast it. It's got deflect, so you can't just bounce it, and the auto's going to go off on it. And that would deal 2 in Yamcha if you have that unison in play and you haven't resolved that. So burning for 2 isn't unprecedented. I think that's totally fine. It's the burning for 6 that creates a problem.
I do think that limiting it 1 per deck might actually kill Invoker, because you need to search through your deck so much and you run the risk of just not finding it, and that's your main win con. And relying on 1 card in a 50-card deck really feels bad.
I mean, that's that current build of Invoker, though. Like, I mean, they've got other options.
yeah.
Like before the
The
Goku
6
came
drop.
out. Yeah, well, before the 3-drop Goku came out in the new set,
Before Rival Seeker.
it was the other 6-drop. You got Energy Explosion,
Yes.
which you used Cat Blow for. You've got the Instinct Surpassed 6-drop that you could just swing with repetitively, which was totally feasible to get that down too, because you've got so many cards in drop that are multicolor extra cards. So it just turns back on those other, like I stopped playing Invoker when the Rival Seeker came out, because it just turned it into a Cat Blow centric only deck, and I loved the playing of it, being able to decide based on what you saw in hand when you used your surge ability, kind of decide what you're going to play for. Are they keeping their life high? Do I need to go for the Victory Strike play? Am I swinging a lot? Am I going for the Cap Blow play? It kind of gave you those options, and I feel like it would just turn back into that. And the deck would it knock it down? Probably. But would it make it unplayable? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, having lost to Invoker a lot against Instinct Surpass, I felt like it was still a strong deck then. I do think that, I don't know. I don't think it's the most broken deck.
No, I don't think
Bergie
so
did
either.
well with it, obviously, because, he's a smart kid, plays better than I do. But,
Plays better than a lot of us.
I don't want to get hung up on it. I think that it's a strong deck. I think that some of the cards in it just are feel bad plays, but,
That's control decks. I mean,
Yeah.
control decks can often feel bad. Not getting to do what you want to do going into a game feels bad when it happens at every turn, versus a lot of decks that run a handful of counters and a handful of negates. That deck just says, my goal is to say no to everything.
We spent a lot of time on Invoker. Should we just move to the kind
Because I
of the
just
next
kept,
part?
yeah.
I was just going to caveat that I don't think Invoker is a busted deck that needs to get nerfed, or for the sake of making it fair again. It's got decks themselves that gatekeep a little bit Invoker,
Yeah.
so it's not like Invoker's running rampant in the meta. So I don't think that that's even something that necessarily needs to get touched. But it's solid. It's a good deck. A lot of people are playing it, and they're playing it well, and it's showing up in the top decks, but it's not like it's crushing every single tournament it plays in.
I think in Invoker and the changes to the meta, even like the reference to Rival Seeker making a big change, is a good segue that we're starting to get card reveals for the next set. So if we're getting card reveals for the next set and we've gotten a lot of red and green so far, not other colors. So I'm just kind of biding my time and waiting, because what I would like to see is blue, as someone who enjoys playing blue. But so far, what's your guys' favorite card revealed? What's the card that you see that you're just pumped about, if there is one?
Go for it, Robert.
Yeah, I'm not going to limit it to one card, but I do love the green card reveals, and I hope, other colors get it. It seems like red's going the other way, but just the ability to play cards that remove unison counters. I think unisons are super strong right now, and a lot of it has to do with there's nothing really to keep them in check other than, your double strikes and your triple strike cards and trying to burn them down. So I think that the meta is going to change a lot with these new cards coming in from green, whether it's the Go Tanks or, I'm going to say Dark Broly because that card looks gangster, and I'm just going to figure out how to, like, slide him in there. They'll be like, why do you have him in your deck? I'll be like, have you seen how cool he looks? Like, that's my strategy, because, it's all about style points. Winning's nice, but you got to look good doing it. But I do love kind of the checking the unison. And while I don't think adding unison markers is as good as removing them, I do think that hopefully Red could have some sneaky combo plays where, is it the Vegito with the -5 to take a life? There's not much you could do to it. If you're able to play a card, they can add a counter or two that your opponent's not saying, and then spike them for kind of one of that unmitigatable damage. Especially after I was just complaining about Cap Blow, for me to like mention that combo makes a ton of sense. But those are kind of my thoughts.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited for Broly. I like that he got the swap mechanic. Think that if it's definitely missing some pieces right now from what's been revealed. I'm really curious to see what the 1-drop extra card is, because they've revealed it for the Union Fusion for Gogeta.
The Gogeta.
But they haven't revealed the 1-drop extra card that they've hinted at in the Broly lead. I kind of like too how, you got the green Broly leader who lets you hunt for the 1-drop to start your chain there. And now this Broly leader lets you hunt the 1-drop extra card from deck that I'm assuming gets your ball rolling a little bit there. Lets you find a card or two that you're missing from opening hand, whatever it may be. But having swap is interesting, especially I'm curious and I'm nervous because last set, the thing I was excited for was the Gotenks Union Fusion. And that broke my heart because I was waiting for him to drop something. I was like, okay, so these are just like the vanilla Gotenks that they've got no protection and it doesn't really seem feasible to play them safely, but they'll release stuff for it. They'll give you like a field that makes all Gotenks have deflect or whatever it may be, but make it specific to Gotenks, and then nothing came out, and it's just a kind of a shit engine because it doesn't have any protection and you're just losing cards from hand the whole time to play it. The recursion, really cool, but that's about it.
Dane, what are your thoughts on the green Gotenks engine kind of being the same mechanic as the yellow one, at least from what they've kind of released so far, of just, taking the Goten and pulling the trunks, and then taking the trunks and pulling the Goten? Again, I haven't played Gotenks, but from what I read, it seems super similar.
Yeah,
they kind of being lazy.
No, I think it'll be interesting. I'm excited for the green Gotenks engine too. Like I'm excited to see how much they can incorporate the older green, because green Gotenks is not a new engine like the yellow Gotenks was, or like this red Broly was. Like there's a pre-existing green Gotenks and Sun Goten and Youth Trunks or whatever. There's a bunch of that stuff pre-existing. So we'll see how it interacts. There's like one card that was pre-existing for the yellow Gotenks engine, that 3-drop Trunks that you could kind of incorporate, and it was good, but that's like the only incorporation they had from older sets. So I mean, definitely I'm withholding judgment. I found that getting really excited about something, like I'm actually a little wary of how excited I am for the Broly swap, and ready to just have my heart broken again that it's just not going to be a good engine. But that's okay, because Broly's hot, and I'm probably gonna play it regardless. Kind of like how I'm playing Gotenks right now. I'm running the 7-drop, and I'm still running a bunch of the 2 and 3 drops, and running the SCR actually, which is a bold strategy. But I want to just keep playing with the SCR that I have. So.
But you know what? You're all shined out, so it's beautiful.
I am shined out because, believe it or not, no one on my team wanted the Gotenks stuff, so I got all the foils.
say, as somebody who likes to play blue, I'm reserving my judgment on the whole favorite card revealed as far as the whole set goes. But as far as the set goes so far, a card that I probably will never play, but I just want to look at is that Majin Buu Royal Absorption, the 7-drop, because it looks incredible. That's pretty much my favorite card revealed solely based on looks.
Bergie, what was up?
My favorite card probably is the Vegeta leader, the one that can take life and get double strike and play things from the bottom. Because Servant seems like a really interesting mechanic, and I think that with the Boo that Blake was talking about, you can create this really interesting chain build where you go from I play this 3-drop, then I play the bottom card of my deck, which is the Boo, then I play the Dragon Ball on top, play the 5-drop, pay 1, play the 7, swing during every single one of these, and it could lead to a really interesting mid-range build, in my opinion.
Yeah. That
Oh,
Vegeta
great.
leader looks
Another
solid.
Boo deck. 14
Ooh,
swings.
Robert's still salty.
So salty.
No, it's a good point. What do you think, Michael, about that engine as it stands right now and what you've seen as far as like its protection and viability? Because I feel like that's the hard pill for me to swallow when I'm evaluating new cards is without seeing everything. It's like I don't know if this is gonna get everything it needs because not everything I've been excited for has. But what do you feel that from what you've seen it could still use?
I think it could use a little bit more protection, like you said, and I think it could just use more bodies to get from the bottom of your deck. Because it's so based on the Overlord and Servant mechanic, I think you need to have more things on the bottom of your deck using Servant and Overlord to play. Otherwise, the deck could fall flat really quickly.
Yeah, keeping that rolling is probably going to be super important for that, for sure. I do, like, what do you guys feel? How do you feel about the Servant Overlord mechanic from what you've seen of the cards revealed so far?
I think a lot of it's gonna be really dependent on like volume, because that really ends up being a lot of times with new mechanics that ends up being kind of the thing that either makes it successful or makes it be just a mechanic that exists for a set. Is it something that's going to be really good because it gets tons of support and has lots of access to stuff, or is it just really underwhelming because there's 4 cards?
Yeah, I'm curious because the Red Broly has it, and I was looking at it, and I'm kind of curious because some of them, the Servant isn't it place this card at the bottom of your deck, or once per turn, the Overlord can place that card at the bottom of your deck and draw a card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It seems desynergistic with the swap, which is strange to me. It's like, okay, cool. So if I don't have this, I swap and draw and try to restart, or I don't know. We'll see how it works, see how it plays out. I'm excited to test it, but it's definitely an interesting mechanic. I was just curious about Michael's take on it since he's excited for that green.
I think Michael's good at complicated things. Personally, make my head hurt. I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Like,
he's good at thinking through things ahead of time. It's crazy.
You give me too much credit.
I think you earn that credit though, for sure.
Yeah, you earn it. So if that's your favorite, if those are your favorite cards, what's the card that you've seen so far that you think is going to be the strongest or have the most impact?
The green Broly Unison is bonkers.
He's so good. He
has a +2 that is removal and hand destruction.
It's scary.
It is disgusting.
Ruling on this question, I don't know if you guys know. I think you guys, probably know because again, you guys are all smart. It says the opponent has to choose their battle card to KO it. So does that get around barrier?
It's still
no, it does not.
Doesn't. Nope.
It's still it can't be chosen by the skill.
He'd be even more
Don't
broken.
worry. It's okay.
I was like, yes.
It's a good thing to bring up because there's a couple older cards that do that people might not be super familiar with that say something similar, like your opponent has to choose, and it's an older ruling, so good to bring up.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone learns something.
The source of the skill. The source of the skill is key.
Yeah.
And I have to agree. Just the Dark Broly Unison is so strong. So first of all, it's a double striker, and for anyone who's played against Zeno, like with the +2, he's damn near impossible to kill. Right? You have to invest a ton of resources to get there, and so he's a 3 cost. So you can assume that the first turn that he gets in, you're going to do the +2, so he's going to be at 5 markers right off the bat. Like that's just not easy to get down, unless you're playing another green and they're able to remove markers that way. Obviously more cards will be revealed, so but I just think coming into play and having 5 markers with double strike 20k, it's gonna hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you remove a marker, so he has 5 markers. When you remove the first one, you're gonna have to drop a card too. So that's gonna feel bad. You're just sitting there. You're like, oh, I
Isn't
can't
that by
kill him.
skill though? It's not by.
That's
combo,
only by
it's
skill.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Again, I
So-
can't read
Yes.
for everybody who hasn't met
You're-
me yet. So
Again,
Um,
it's illiterate.
I'm illiterate for a reason. But yeah, I think he's gonna be hard to get off the board regardless.
I mean, anytime you have Zeno is the prime example of the +2 and how that can be so challenging to overcome if you don't invest a ton of resources and if you're not running a wide deck. Zeno is proof of the fact that a +2 is just a miserable experience to play into.
Mhm.
It is an absolute uphill battle all the way, because as soon as that +2 goes off, you're at 4 or 5 markers and you might as well just accept the fact that that thing's sticking. Just accept that it exists and just move on.
Yeah.
Move on with your life. Aim for a different target.
Yeah, and Zeno's 9K, right? So
Mhm.
Broly's a 20K. Just like bring it
Yeah.
on.
And I think the interesting thing with unisons is in a game like Magic, you have things where you go up to 6 markers, but you can be fine because the creatures in that game deal damage based off their power, and it's not just 1 for single, 2 for double, 3 for triple. I think that unisons in
Yeah.
this game can get out of control way quicker than in Magic because you swing and you deal 1, no matter
Yeah.
what the power is.
A base 1 as a
What-
marker
what-
removal.
What is this game that you reference?
It's a great game.
It's a trash game.
It's
That
called Wizards The Happening.
Wizards the Happening.
I like it.
Get out of here, Bergie. You're done. I'm cutting you off. Where's my soundboard?
You got
Am I
it.
good?
Good.
Am I gone? Okay.
Send him a timeout. So-
That's the second time you mentioned it. I let it go the first time.
When did I mention it the first time?
I don't know. We're just gonna blame you all the time for stuff. You're the youngest one. You gotta take the heat.
Every time you do, I'm just gonna leave camera.
Bergie went to
Can I come?
timeout. You can come back now. Get out from timeout. All right. So let's talk about with everything that's come out recently. Set 10, the anniversary box. You guys, everybody has had a chance to play a bunch of decks. We're all definitely people who like to have a bunch of stuff ready to go. We like to play competitive if we can, but we also like to play something fun. And so, what's the meta deck you're playing right now? What's the deck that you've invested a ton of time in that you would consider to be meta?
Sell aggro.
Gee, I love it.
First, I think Eggman was the first one to kind of post about it, and then I applied some of Blake's life principles of if it's free, it's good, and the amount that you can free play with Cell using Charismatic Frieza, Surprise Attack Frieza, the Parasitic Ball. Now that Bardock's are readily available, there is a very large toolkit for aggro Cell, and then the ability to play some sneaky successors. The draw is good. You do need draw apes in there, so that is expensive. But I would say that the new 9-drop Cell Xeno from set 10 is probably the greatest gift to Surge Cell that there's ever been. It just makes the deck so vibrant now. There's so many different ways to play it, but aggro Cell is sneaky good. You can play some monster combos, and it's a lot of fun. Just a lot of tricks of the trade that I learned from you guys about how to maximize swings. But I think you could get probably 10 swings with 3 of them being double strike turn 2. It's gross.
You've got to play in that deck where I can't remember what the cards are that you need for it, but I think it's just you arrival the power couple, right?
Yep. So
And you swing at a battle card, and then you arrival the power couple, and then you pop the battle card because you're swinging at a battle card, and then you make me drop a card, and then you free play both the Goku for when I drop a card and the crit Frieza for when you my battle card. And it's like, okay, cool, 2 more crit swings, here they come.
Yep.
Which is gross and awesome at the same time.
Yep, and then along with that, so those are some of the swings. Then you can use the Parasitic Ball over the Surprise Attack Frieza for the 15k double striker, and then you already have 8 out there, and so you could either, depending on how much energy you have, you could successor if you have 3 energy for the 8-drop Sun Gohan, or if you are super sneaky, you could awaken that turn, ready 2 energy. Swing with the Bardock if this is turn 2, and get a Bardock on the board. And then hypothetically, if you had Xeno, which is the best card of set 9, change my mind, you could bring down Xeno, right? And so this is turn 2, and you have 2 crit strikes, 15 Ks. You have your Demigra, ideally for 15. You have your leader. If you awaken for 15, you have a 15 double strike with the Dark Frieza. You have the 20K double strike with the Bardock, and then you could successor the 40K quad strike Xeno, turn 2.
That happened.
So it can be, and there's some other cards that you could work in there as well, but we'll have to save that for
Belmont was a good
the
filler there.
dark profile. Will you stop revealing all the spice?
I'm sorry. I know. It still hurts me that I couldn't counterplay it when I realized that AOD didn't hit 4 drops.
And then not only that, when you parasitic ball the Dark Frieza on top of your surprise attack Frieza, if you pop another card, you could bring out another surprise attack Frieza. Now you have to have a monster,
monster
starting hand.
You don't get
and
that,
draw.
especially with your new Xeno cells.
New Xeno cell, but there's a lot of fun happening with aggro cell. It's by far my favorite deck right now. And I keep fine tuning it, adding as much spice as we can. Is it Thai chili spice or is it pepper jack cheese? We're not sure yet, but we're leaning towards Thai chili.
I was gonna ask something. Have you played that much into blue?
Yeah, again, playing against Blake, it is, again, if he has God Sealing, that's kind of, but it can't stop everything.
I was just gonna say, I kind of feel like it overwhelms blue a little bit, unless they've got just a God Hand themselves. So still get bodies on board and pressure.
They would need a lot of negates.
You know how I stop Xeno from coming out? Mafuba. So not Xeno. You just Mafuba anything else.
How do you Mafuba on your 1 energy turn though? Is what I'm wondering.
No, it's my 2 energy turn.
Oh, you're
Blake never goes second.
I never go second. All I do is win, even on the roll off.
So yeah, it does. It is super fast if you get the right cards. Now, if you get some bad hands, which can happen, it's a card game. It can slow it down. Obviously, what we described is, best case scenario, but it's really fast and really gross. There's a lot of double strike, a lot of crit, a little bit of hand control. It's a lot of nasty that. Man, it's so fun. It's just as nasty as Flow.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason I enjoy my meta deck is kind of been Zamasu. Like I really like the ability of blue to have some defense on top of the offense, and then the Monaka play is just it's king of the mountaintop, simply because I get to play a card with Monaka on it. There's not a lot better in a game than getting to just like drop a Monaka, give that double strike, let's pop that Xeno energy and give it dual attack. We're gonna go dual double 15k. We're gonna draw a bunch of cards, and I got to play a Monaka card. And that you can side in a package where you can play the Tragedy Overground, which is such a dirty play game 2.
I like that. I like that siding that in. Like that's because I feel like people they see Zamasu and they're like, okay, I gotta play around this, and then you're like, psych, I'm just gonna double strike, dual attack you the whole game. Have fun. Like
and they're like, oh, I'm gonna play against that, and you're like, nope, Tragedy Overground.
Just kidding, Tragedy Overground now.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about how they need to make a Beerus in a Monaka costume card? Like, screw Gokul or however whatever they want to call them. Like, screw the Hercule cards, man. Like, let's bring in Monaka Beerus.
That's your counter. That's your counter to Cat Blow.
That's the counter to Cat Blow. He just stops it.
Beerus in a Monaka costume.
And just make it an SCR that's just like super bomb that only works in like the jankiest deck. It'll be great. I'm all about it. I would make that deck. Bandai, if you make it, I will buy. I'll buy a case if you make it. I'm throwing that out right now. You can hold me to it.
I want a Monaka leader. I want a Xeno leader.
Dane's like, I'm done here.
Monaka leader would definitely be like the Hercule leader.
Oh, for
I
sure.
Like,
want to.
1000 power.
It would just like boost all your Goku cards. I feel like that's the
Yeah.
theme of the Monaka card is
That
that
would
it's
actually
like
be
really
push
sick.
Goku to like
Yeah.
fight harder because he thought that someone was stronger than him. It's like, okay, cool.
Dude,
All your Goku
That'd be
cards get,
awesome.
like,
Then you
plus
could run the
10K.
rainbow. It'd be dope. Dude, let's make this
Sprinkle
happen.
legend. Let's
We
get
don't
a
work for
Xeno
Bandai,
leader.
so
Our new mission. This is our new mission.
Make Monaka great
Great for
again.
the first time.
oh man, I think it'd be really. I want them to do like not that they don't have enough product coming out constantly, but like the next theme booster, like they need to have like just like a filler episode theme booster where it's Goku and Piccolo learning how to drive cars. It's the baseball episode.
Yes.
Which is great.
Right.
Yeah, like it's awesome. I want to see that stuff because that'd be awesome. I want to have themed cards where it's like Beerus playing rock paper scissors and that's a leader, and then there's Oolong playing rock paper scissors and that's a leader, and like it's.
I know what
something
Dane-
else.
Make it the unison leader combo.
Oh,
Dane-
that would be sick. That's way better. And like have him
Dane-
have Beerus on his leader card like standing sideways this way, and then
Mhm.
just kind of what they did with the Goku Black leader unison.
Dane
Would have-
Dane wants a card with Beerus where there's a rock paper scissors effect where you have to flip a coin.
Dude, Dane wants dice in DBS.
yeah, if you
like
could somehow
not like
add dice to this, that would make it really easy for me to quit this game too, which is great because I need to shave down.
No,
my
dude, they gotta
games,
make
so-
custom stickers on the dice, drive the game into the ground because they can't afford to make them anymore.
That wouldn't drive me away. This game's too fun. I like it.
Yeah.
Could a real ask of
That's
Bandai no, Beerus Monaka is obviously a real ask, but like let's get some SPR leaders in here. Like that reboot Soul Striker with the Goku Black.
SPR. I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
I like the rarity of, like if it did
Yeah.
full art, alt art leaders, that'd be cool. But don't make
Yeah.
Signed
leaders
by the
rare.
cast.
SPR would feel bad.
Yeah,
It would feel bad unless they were like signature, and they were like
Yeah.
one per case or something.
and you can
Just so
do
that way-
normal leader, not
And you get the normal leader. Yeah.
All right, well, okay, fine, never mind, because that got shot down right quick. But the reboot Soul Striker and the Goku Black Unison on the silver background looks absolutely fantastic, and mad
Yeah.
props for that.
Are we
'cause-
getting one with Gohan and Piccolo next set?
I don't know. I'll ask Bandai. Let me text them quick.
I thought that was on their stream where they were revealing decks and themes.
I haven't seen anything
I have
for
no
it,
idea.
but you probably know more than I
Yeah.
do, Michael.
haven't- yeah.
Honestly, you're
Bergie, you know how to use the internet.
you.
I can't
Well, I
even
can't, my
I
phone's
can't
my
even
camera.
read, so you know.
So we know if we know talking meta decks, we know that Birdie's playing Invoker. That's a
Yeah.
gimme.
Yeah.
That's his meta baby.
Look at that
Um,
smile. He's so amped about it.
You
love
just
it so
speak
much.
Invoker, and he's just like, yeah.
Makes a smile on
yeah.
his face. Just cheesy.
I love it so much. Get off my back.
No, I'm not.
It's
I'm
okay.
dude.
I know he has an off meta deck. What's
Oh.
what's your beloved off meta deck now?
Boo?
It is.
Dude, I love Boo so much. I'm a horrible human being. On Saturday at Battleground, someone pointed out why he's like, wow, that deck seems a lot like Solitaire. And I realized, I'm like, oh no, I love Solitaire decks because I love playing Magic. Oh no, I'm just playing Magic in DBS. Robert's gonna kick me
Where's our buzz?
out. No,
Back to timeout he goes.
Get out of here. Go.
We did.
You can ride the donkey on the way out.
No, but seriously, I love Boo so much. I love thinking a turn ahead. I love being able to just say, I'm going to combo out and learn about doing the math and getting the numbers high up. I love having the chain be there and being able to really, really unique plays where you can go from the 4 to the 5 to the other 5 to the 6
Mm-hmm.
and do really, really crazy setups on turn 2 to 3 to just swing your opponent out. And then if they go longer, you can still combo out and win the game using max power and power burst.
Yeah, I mean that's.
See, and then, yeah.
I was just gonna say, you'll need to if you're bringing that back because I have not played into your Boo yet, but I do have very strong recollections of playing into Blake's Boo, and for the first 7 to 8 games of that, I was like, okay, run me through the chain and what you need where. Again, please, thank you. So if you bring it back, just
Yeah.
be aware that everyone on the team is going to be like, okay, Bergie, run me through the chain, what you need where, because we haven't played it for a while, but we're all very familiar with it conceptually and knowing what it can do.
Yeah.
So,
And
What I think-
don't count out your Bibidi super combo, okay? That's just
Oh,
rude.
Yeah.
I'm
at least ask for the negate first. Like, are you gonna negate this? Hold on, I want to count
Bobby.
it.
What Bergie's favorite is Boo because he likes playing Solitaire and Degenerate. My off meta deck is Trunks because I love Trunks. He's my Boo. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally,
like
that's-
Degenerate?
future Trunks is he's my beloved.
yeah.
Which is
Where
fine.
are you going to get your Trunks tattoo? You're running out of real estate. That guy posted it on the community page.
Yeah.
You know, like are you going to make it happen?
5,000 likes.
Like just face.
I was
Just
I was
face.
yeah. 5,000 views, I'll get a Trunks tattoo.
He's getting it anyway.
I'm gonna get it anyway. It just gives me a reason to get it sooner. No, I
gotta
think I
do
have a
it.
little room for it. I got a little room for it. It's happening. Michael Stokes was dope. That one he did was incredible.
Yeah.
I was in love with it.
That's really cool.
5,000 views and Bergie will get a tattoo.
My mom would kick me out of the house
I'm pretty sure Missy
and then beat me,
Yeah.
so it would be legal.
Minnesota lets you do it under the age of 18, just so we're clear.
just so everyone's aware.
Again, I live in this crazy country called my parents' home. They have very strict laws, and that includes not having tattoos.
It's
Robert,
not like they do full body checks. Let's just be real. I'm just saying.
Hey, I don't know
So-
what they do when I'm sleeping.
so Robert, what's your off meta deck? Yeah, it's not
All right.
aggro cell because it's your on meta deck.
Can it
Well,
be
it's
on
also
and
my
off
off
meta?
meta, yeah.
Because it's also kind of his off meta deck.
Yeah,
I
it's
will
my
Also,
say
on
I
off.
wanna
It's
talk
my
about
on again
that.
off again.
off meta deck, Yamcha. All right, let me Yamcha, because Yamcha's here and Yamcha's dead, and that's basically how it's gone through testing so far. A lot of death, but the highlight of the deck is the Champ 2020 Bulma, which I affectionately refer to as Zombie Bulma, because when she dies or gets KO'd, because your leader is Yamcha, she doesn't die, so she's kind of like a
The
zombie.
power of Barney keeps her alive.
But I don't know. I think there's something to it. I think I need to make it faster, but it is a lot of fun just playing with kind of a lot of the set 10 cards. Bunny Bulma's always exciting. The big drawbacks to it are obviously, getting KO'd with the skill and the fact that, if you neg your board and a lot of your cards don't have a ton of power, it's not a skill, which is super sad. So I'm still toying with it, but I think Yamcha hopefully has a little bit of spice, but so far Yamcha's definitely Pepperjack and not Thai chili.
All right, so Dane, I don't want Dane's feelings hurt. So Dane, what?
My on meta deck is either blue Vegito, or the Dende Shenron Wish Leader, because that's what I took to Gen Con, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're running Dende," and I was like, "Yeah, I am," because God Sealing literally made it playable, and the Power Rangers engine was like, because pretty much all the counterplays, like, they are battle cards that would hit my engine. And I would just say, okay, nope, I'm holding a God Sealing. My 5-drop does get to get played, sorry. And then I go to the 6, which has barrier and can't be touched by a lot of stuff anyways. So that card single-handedly made it playable, and I got 16th with it. So I'm like, all right, I am kind of feeling this right now, and it's fun. I can't complain. But I'd say...
Rumor has it that you would have done even better
oh my
had
God.
you not...
Understood what the freaking leader did.
I was so mad. So this is... All right,
Here
this
we
is a
go.
direct result. This is the direct result of being a new player. Not a new player, but like not being here since the beginning.
New adjacent.
New adjacent. So, I'm gonna get for this too. So I was playing a dude, and he put down his leader, and it's webcam, it's a little blurry, fuzzy, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm playing Dredge Crew. Like I know that I need to avoid his ability, so I'm pinging with like the 4-drop Ranger, and like trying to get like his life to a point where he doesn't want to do it more than once for sure. But if I can get him down to like 3 life, that'd be fantastic. So I'm pinging and I'm swinging and I'm taking my time and I'm not putting out my big cards and I'm going a little wider with it. I've got 2 different chains going, and I end up losing the game, like, and I'm negating everything, by the way, because I don't want him to get to the battle step, and I've got like 14 negates in that deck because I'm running blue. And so I negate all of his leader swings, and I get to the last turn, and he swings, and he's like, oh, I've got a Krillin in the drop area. I get double strike. And I'm like, what gives you double strike? He's like, oh, my leader ability. I was like, Dredgeku doesn't have that leader ability. And I literally played around Dredgeku wiping my board, and I wasn't playing Dredgeku. I was playing, what do they call him?
Clash Coup.
Clash Coup.
Clash Coup.
And I was like, son of a I had never heard of Clash Coup. Like, I started playing
To be
after.
fair, the art looked really similar.
Yeah, especially blurry webcam. I'm like, oh, like that's gotcha. Yep, the non-Super Saiyan into the Super Saiyan. Gotcha, makes sense. That's what I'm playing.
This is why you always ask to read their leaders.
I'm not gonna ask everyone to hold up their leader. And cocky me was like, oh, I know what this deck is. I'm fine. And like he was playing like an eerily similar build to like the Dredge Crews that we'd been practicing into. So nothing even raised red flags. Like he had some Krillin cards, and I was like, okay, like I could see why they'd run like Krillin. That seems fine. Draw power, whatever. And yeah, that felt super bad, especially because knowing that in hindsight, I had the win turn 3 because Dende's ultimate is restand 2 blue, and I could have definitely gone up to the 6-drop in 2 different chains between that and Sensu Beans. I was like, oh, it felt super, super bad, but that's okay. Lesson learned.
I just love bringing back bad memories, you know, way to traumatize my team.
It was more of honestly, it's just funny in hindsight. Even afterwards, I was like, dude, I'm such an idiot. Like he was super gracious. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I thought that you knew what it was. And cause he told me Clash Coup, and I didn't register that because literally that morning, Joey for Crossworlds had put out like a thing on Facebook about what else should we call this. And I thought that him saying Clash Coup was just like him being cutesy with like Dredge Coup having a different name or something like that. So
Can
yeah,
I
it
make
was
a
stupid.
PSA about Dredge Coup?
Yeah, go for it. Change the topic.
It's called Dredge Coup. Don't call it anything else. It uses graveyard and it's warp. That is it. Magic had the word dredge. You put things from drop in warp to use dredge.
That's like the 5th time that you mentioned this card game.
And I'm getting
Oh, Magic,
frustrated
like,
because people are out here saying, oh, it should be called dredge because it has nothing to do with dredge. You're sending things to warp.
You're effing killing me.
I never said anything about calling it Dredge Crew or not, and I honestly
I know, but I'm saying
don't
people
care.
on the internet
He was
are.
referencing the community, and who cares?
Oh, okay. I
It
thought you
keeps
said you
bugging me.
people as in us, because
Yeah. No,
But-
he-
As your Jedi Master, am I allowed to disown you as my Padawan? Like, is that a
No,
thing?
you're not.
Can someone look up Star Wars lore and just let me know if I can do that?
dude, just
You
Anakin
have
is
to kill me or something like that.
do it.
Just say
No.
it.
But no, I think that did I say what my off meta deck was yet?
Nope.
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 We
Off
talked
meta
about them
deck.
there.
At this point, I kind of consider AOD off meta, at least with like the different builds coming out from it. One, because
There's not a hard meta version.
No, and also it just hasn't had a chance to really see where it sits in the meta, and I really don't think it's gonna be a tier 1 deck. I think that it's too fair, and like too many decks do certain things better than it. Other decks have like a way to pierce its armor, if you think about it, like as far as what it can do. Like AOD, it's toolboxy, does a lot of stuff. It's got good interactions with things, but there are certain decks, a lot of decks have like their thing that they just crush your soul, and it doesn't answer that. I feel like AOD will play really well into like the Sea of Fizz, as we called it in Destiny, like the general competitor pool at a tournament. But once you get into those top tables, like people are just going to be fine-tuned to know like this is what AOD does because it's got the same 7 cards. And this is what I got to do around it, and I'm just going to crush them there. And that's going to be the answer.
Yeah.
It's not going to really shine at all, I don't think. But it's fun. It's super fun to play. And
It's fun to play.
having a
So
good time with it.
if you don't think AOD will be, you know, tier 1, let's just say, you know, it might be tier 1.5, tier 2, something like that, and it's fun to play. What do you think that any of the AOD cards will carry over to main meta decks? Like,
That's,
you know,
yeah.
Blake's talked a lot about Hatch.
That's what actually the caveat that I was going to give it there at the end was that AOD, as it's built out of box, like out of the anniversary box, AOD running that build, I don't think is going to be really that meta relevant. It'll be a rogue deck at best, I think. But incorporating some of those cards is, I think, possible. Like there was that Gohan list that's been floating that I still think that the 1-drop Bibidi is a little bit of like a difficult linchpin to keep out the whole time. That you got the hatch, you've got multiple 1-drop Bibidis, you can hunt it and replay it. I don't know, it seems really interesting. I'd have to actually build it and play it myself to see how it functions, but I don't like decks that have a linchpin, honestly. Like that's kind of like my deterrent for it, and having a bunch of your deck get shut off if that card doesn't exist on your board is terrifying to me. So
you don't like getting to round
What
3
about
without
Vegeta?
Kid Coup and
What's
no ball and just sitting there.
What about the Invoker Vegeta? Do you think that's a linchpin for Invoker? Or
I'd say it's a
much more
little
reliable
different.
one.
Yeah, it's a little different with Invoker just because it's got Deflect and Barrier. It's a 3-drop. It's got 19k. So even if like all you need to do against the 1-drop Bibidi is rest them, which a lot of things rest through barrier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you're swinging and you're going to combo out. It's like, no, okay, well, also, if you don't combo out of this attack, then you lose play of all of your cards unless you're holding a hatch or another Bibidi next turn. Which I think also maybe that's fine because Gohan is such a threat in and of himself that like you don't need to live through a whole lot of them taking your linchpin away because you don't need to live that long in Gohan. Like you're doing so much so fast anyways. So maybe it does run well, and that's why I got to look into it. But yeah, just my general take on it initially seeing the list is don't like having a linchpin. And I feel like AOD naturally plays a mid-range game really well. And dragging Gohan out to mid-range, I think can be
a struggle,
like a little iffy, like, right, because Gohan wants to go fast, and I think typically that's how it answers a lot of other decks' questions of it, is by going fast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that it'd be interesting to play against for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, we've had a lot to talk about to get to the end of the first Dragon Ball Super episode of the Outcast Haven podcast. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you guys for hanging out and talking DBS for a little bit. Thanks to my teammates for joining me and talking about Dragon Ball Super, a game that we love. Hit that subscribe button, follow us, like us, share it up, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.